Hello and welcome to another installment of Faces of JF. Today I am so excited to welcome Ashley Haseotes, the founder and CEO of One Mission. Gosh, I know your story and proudly share it with such an open heart, but for our community, can you give us the story of how you became the founder of One Mission?
One Mission is a pediatric cancer charity that's dedicated to giving help, hope, and care to children and their families as they battle pediatric cancer. So I started One Mission after my oldest son, Nicholas, had cancer. He was an infant when he was diagnosed with cancer. So I was in the mortgage business, married, my husband, Ari, and he was like, I really want you to be a stay-at-home mom. Like when we get married and have kids, will you consider doing that? And at the time I was like, yeah. I was like, tired of working crazy hours and always being on call and all that stuff. So we have Nicholas and I go through the first couple of months of maternity leave, and he came, I remember practicing in the bathroom mirror. I was going to break the news to him that I wanted to go back to work. And yeah. So he comes home, he's sitting down, we're having dinner. Nicholas is in his little high chair or whatever. And I was like, so this isn't working out for me. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I just can't do the peeps and the poops and the bottles and all day long. I need to go back to work. And he was like, we talked about this. Long story short, he was like, why don't you get into philanthropy? And we were young, right? We were 30 years old. So I was like, what's philanthropy? What are you talking about? The next day I'm on Google and I'm like, okay, so giving back. And I figured kids, right? How do I help kids who are less fortunate? Kids with cancer came up. St. Jude came up first. And so I called St. Jude and I was like, all right, I want to have a party for you. How do I do it? They sent us a little kit, in the mail. And this was so long ago, they sent us a VHS tape, right? So I got one of those little mini TVs where the TV's on the top and the video players on the bottom. And so we put it in the kitchen, by the cocktails. And because we had everybody to our house for the party. And we would put the video on 2 or 3 times throughout the night, and then people would gather around. And Ari hopped up on the coffee table and he was like, I really think that we should make this an annual event. Can you imagine how awful it would be if one of our kids was diagnosed with cancer? And then 2 months later, Nicholas got diagnosed. Mm. When your kid gets diagnosed, they don't really give you a lot of time, right, to think it up. They're like, okay, Nicholas has cancer. You have 2 choices. You could do this protocol or this protocol, and then that's it. It just takes off from there. We never left the hospital, 188 straight days. We never went home with Nicholas. At the time, this was so long ago, they used to walk around, the head nursing staff used to walk around on Saturday mornings and they would knock on your door and just check in with you. How are you doing? How are things going? Can we do anything for you? And I was like, yeah. I had this laundry list. I literally had a legal pad of paper and it had dumb things on it. I can't stand these brown paper towels, but then it had things on it there's no mat for Nicholas to learn to sit up on. There's no toys for him. There's nothing for us to do. You made an announcement 2 weeks ago that there was going to be dinner in the resource room, but how come we don't have that all the time? The answer that I kept getting over and over again was, well, we had funding for that once, but now we don't have funding for that. I had no idea, but I just kept writing it down. We went home in October, and it wasn't until that following summer, I was like, I think I want to give the hospital money. We got to do something about that. It was really bothering me. It was eating me up. So I said to Ari, I was like, all right, how much money do you want to give to the hospital? And he was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, all these things, why don't we do that? Why don't we give them money so that they can have dinners once a week, so that they can have toys, so they have access to things that, parents need. He was like, well, I have a better idea. And I was like, okay, what's that? He's like, well, why don't we start a foundation, a charity, and we'll raise the money so that we can raise a lot more than we could give. And I was like, how do I do that? But anyway, that's how it got started. And, I kind of just like you, right?
Right. Yeah.
Pieces together. So
Yeah. Our stories very much align in like the craziest way, because just like you were fundraising for St. Jude prior to Nicholas's diagnosis. I was fundraising for Boston Children's Hospital before Joe's diagnosis. And so the passion was there, right? You had that experience, you know what it felt like to pay it forward and to give to somebody, but now you had a different experience. You had that firsthand, you had that raw, that like what it means to actually be that family. I've been like, you know, showing off this new hairstyle I have, and it happened because I participated in a One Mission event. Ash, tell us about the Buzz Off and what that has done for your community.
I always would look through my photo albums from the hospital. And so I had 4 of them. So I was looking through this album and I came across the picture of the day that we shaved off Nicholas's remaining hair. So the nurses really were after us to do that, which I totally didn't get. I'd already turned them down several times. I was like, no, we're not shaving. Nope, not having it. Goodbye. Close the door, right? You're leaving. This new attending physician comes in, Barb DeGar, literally love this woman. I'll never forget her. She came in with a box of clippers. And she was like, hi, I'm Barbara. And I was like, hi, how are you? She's like, I'll be your new attending physician. Before we do rounds, we're going to shave off Nicholas's hair. And I was like, what? She was like, here you go. I'll be back in 15 minutes. And Aaron and I looked at each other and I was like, well, we were speechless. I was like, all right, well, I guess we're going to just do it. So remember, Nicholas is a baby. So we put him in his little Fisher-Price plastic seat and we shaved his hair. And as soon as we were done, you know, we cleaned up and we kind of like looked at him and both of us were like, oh God. We were like just really taken aback. Like we weren't okay. And so Barbara comes in like all bouncy and she's like, okay, great. Oh, look how cute he is. And we're like puffy eyes, crying hysterically. And she was like, are you guys all right? And I was like, Barbara, no, we're not okay. Look at him. He looks just like a cancer patient. And she put her hand on my shoulder and she was like, honey, he is a cancer patient. And then the nurse, our favorite nurse, Lisa, comes in and she's like, okay, let's take a picture. So like Ari and I are all puffy eyes. Nicholas is like, yay, happy, all smiles. And then she took us out and got just him. That picture of Nicholas sitting in his little Fisher-Price seat with this biggest smile on his face. No eyelashes, no eyebrows, and now no hair. And I was like, viscerally could remember that moment just by looking at the pictures. And I was like, it has to be that. Like, it has to be, like, I'm going to get people to shave their head. And somehow in my mind, by me doing that, the parents and the children who had to go through what we went through in that exact moment were going to know that people cared. And they were going to know that there was a whole slew of people that kind of like had their back, if you will.
Yeah.
At this point now I have one helper. So I called her up and I was like, so I have this idea. She was like, okay. I said, how about we try to get like people to shave their head for us? And she literally laughed at me. And she's like, well, maybe you get a bunch of guys to do it. And I was like, I think we're going to get women to do it too. And then just like you, I figured it out.
You figured it out. Yeah. It wasn't what your profession was, right? And definitely not mine, right? But yet the passion drives you to do whatever it takes to figure it out, right? And we understand, I think, that building that trusted community around us is so important. We don't have to know everything, right? Like we don't need to know everything. We need to know the really important things that are going to make our organization sustainable and to continue the work that we're doing. I've watched you grow in your own role, but also, One Mission grow. the organization and probably vice versa, right? And it's been so cool to see the events, and it's so cool to have our annual touch points of like, oh, like what's new, what's happening this year, and you're like, we're going to have a second buzz off, like, and the excitement and the drive and it's contagious. And I think that's what you bring to the Buzzies. And that's why you do get people that are coming year after year, and women that are coming year after year to buzz off their hair, because your energy is contagious. So recently, JF and One Mission started a new partnership, which has been so exciting. For Joe Andruzzi Foundation, we support all ages, right? So we 0 to 100. And you reached out with your colleague Abby at the end of last year to say, hey, we have a grant application that's going to be open. We really think that you guys should apply, that you would be a good candidate. First of all, we're honored that you would even consider us as an applicant, knowing all the good work you do. And we applied and we received the grant. And we have a JF One Mission pediatric financial assistance fund, and have been able to help so many families that are in need. And, you really have helped us, grow the relationships with the pediatric centers, because we've always, prided ourselves on having good relationships and partners with the facilities, but we're having new conversations with the pediatric facilities. And that's because of One Mission's partnership with you trusting us, to grow that piece of what we already had. And then even further, One Mission stepped up to start a new fund for extraordinary needs for pediatric cancer patients and families. And that, goes above and beyond paying for rent and mortgage and electric. It helps them with getting a stationary bike if they're a sarcoma patient and can't go in to have PT, right? Especially in the climate that we're all in, really not going out. So we are just so appreciative that you trust us with that money, your hard work and your supporter and your donors' hard work. And I know that we will do everything in our power to share the stories and make you proud. We go back, right, with supporting one another and growing together, but this is the first time that our organizations have really come together in a larger way. So what has that been like for you, Ashley?
Well, first of all, I do trust you, right? Like that growing up together it's actually more meaningful in this partnership than we're giving each other credit for, I think. Like we were introduced really like year 2 of our journeys, right? As you described, kind of watching One Mission grow, I've also been watching you guys grow. And with pride, by the way, the financial piece of this nightmare that our families are going through, what you guys do is special. We don't do it. It takes a lot. People don't realize this, but it takes a lot of time and energy to help families financially. And that's why your sole focus is that. So when it came time for us to think about where we were going to give this money, I was like, we got to call Jen. Mm-hmm. And I knew you were going to go back to your hospital partners and say, okay, we have this money. How can we help in a bigger way? So it was a no-brainer for me. And then the Extraordinary Needs Fund, like, again, that's me coming back to you guys being like, okay, I have a little bit more and here's what I want to do with it. Again, that's like not fitting in the box, right? That's that family who maybe they've already gotten a couple different grants. Maybe they've already reached their capacity of grant requests, but they're still in dire need of help. You just don't know what you don't know. You don't know that you're going to need a ramp for your house. You don't know that COVID's going to hit and you're going to be terrified to go to PT. A bike would be amazing, right? People just don't know what they don't know, right. But we know.
Right.
And so for us, I believe the reason that we know is so that we can help. Mm-hmm. So those two combinations, my favorite's the Extraordinary Needs. Like whenever we get an email like, hey, are you guys okay with funding this? I always reply back, yes, in caps with all exclamations. Like the stories they're heartbreaking.
Yeah, they are. For both of us, you didn't know what it was like until Nicholas was diagnosed. And even though you had heard and listened and there was willingness to engage, you didn't know how raw it was.
Right.
And I think for myself with Joe, my spouse, being the cancer patient, no different, right? Like, I didn't understand what that meant. And so we bring that to everything we do, but not only that, we bring all the stories of the families that we've met, the patients that we've met, because it changes, right? It evolves. Like Nicholas and Joe's story is something of 12, 13 years ago, which is beautiful and terrifying to our families. But things that they went through, it looks very different now, right? There's advancements in treatments. There's, many different things. The cost of cancer now compared to what it was then is much, greater than what it was. I look forward to continuing to grow together, and I'm very proud to call you a friend as well as a partner.
Right back.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. I love our partnership. Together we help the family, all encompassing. That's what I like.
It's a very full circle.
Yep. Full hearts and full circles.